Hello, Mana TV International viewers. Welcome back to Healthy Life the Vegan Way. I'm your host, Kalindi. Healthy Life the Vegan Way is a series in collaboration with World Vegan Vision, a not-profit organization whose mission is to encourage people to more kinder and compassionate way of life, to increase awareness about three main aspects of veganism: your health, animal welfare, and conservation of the environment. Today, we are back with our expert panel, Dr. Shrenik Shah, and also a special guest, Neetu Jindal. For those who are just joining us, Dr. Shah is a physician with over 35 years of practice in internal medicine. He has been a vegan for over 20 years, and he has spread the love of veganism to numerous people around him. He has a very unique approach to treating patients. Dr. Shah empowers his patients to take control of their own health just by eating the food that are right for their body and soul. A very simple yet a very powerful and effective tool. He's a firm believer and follower of whole food plant-based diet. He guides his patient and people around him to let food be your medicine. He strongly recommends a vegan lifestyle to prevent, reverse, and manage disease, and also for a healthy mind and soul. And today we have a guest with us. Our guest, Neetu Jindal, is an attorney. She is the secretary of New Jersey chapter of World Vegan Vision. She has been vegan for over last 24 years. She has adopted veganism to stand up for those unheard voices. As a college student, she saw a video about atrocities dairy cows were subjected to, which became a turning point in her life. She turned vegan overnight, and it has been 24 years since. She took a path to fight against animal cruelty. She now volunteers her time exposing cruel factory farming practices and engages in outreach activities and spreads the awareness about veganism. Her mission in life is to create a kinder world for animals. She is also mom to a 9-year-old son, Nirvan, who she has raised vegan. Nirvan follows mom's pursuit as an animal rights activist. Welcome, Neetu, to Healthy Life the Vegan Way. Friends, today we are going to talk about a very different aspect of veganism. So far, we have talked about your health, also the health of the environment. And by now, you all are quite, informed. You are aware that there's no nutritional supplement needed for human to eat any animal product. All our dietary needs are supplied by a meatless diet. So today we are going to talk about the aspect of veganism which is associated with animal welfare, the ones whose voices are unheard. What goes behind the dairy, the glass of milk that we drink, the eggs that we eat, the meat, the seafood, all those animal products that are produced just to fulfill our desire to eat, just to be on our plate. So, to start this, I'm going to present some alarming statistics. Did you know Americans consume around 274 pounds of meat per year on an average? And this is not counting seafood and fish or individual food waste. The total amount of meat consumed in the United States has exceeded 40% since 1960. In 2017, even the USDA reported that Americans are exceeding the amount of meat recommended by national dietary guidelines. How much more? How much more do we need? How much more are we eating? Another shocking findings revealed by study from Oxford University, which was published in Science magazine. More than 80% of farmland is used to raise livestock. But on these 80% of farmland used for livestock, only 18% of food calories and 37% of protein is produced. So with that, let's start with number one. Where does a glass of milk come from? Let's talk about what is known as factory farming. A glass of milk, a block of cheese, butter, a cup of yogurt, all those our daily, the daily dairy we consume, most people consume, assuming that that comes from happy cows prancing in the grasslands. Let's find out the truth. Let's hear the truth behind the symbolic glass of milk. So, Neetu Jindal, I would invite you to talk about how we get the glass of milk from the farm to our table.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to expose what goes behind what we call food so conveniently. Actually, this a lot of the things that come to us, they come nicely decorated. They come on a plate. They smell good. They look good. They look very appetizing. But actually, what the animals go through, we don't. Most likely, we don't know. I'm assuming most of us are ignorant. And this is why I'm here. I just want to talk about what the animals go through before the milk or the meat comes to you. So when you spoke about milk, the milk looks like very harmless liquid. It's white. It comes, we can add chocolate to it. It just looks nice and creamy. We can make ice creams from it, pizzas from the cheese that comes from milk. Everything looks really harmless. We think because we take the milk from the cow, we don't really kill the cow. But if I tell you, Kalindi, that milk is actually worse than beef, would you believe me? It's that shocking. People don't know that. So in the production of milk, cows and the calves are also being killed. It might look like, oh, we're just taking the milk. What's a big deal? We take care of the cows. Especially Indians, we have this perception that we have this kindness towards cows, especially because, we think cow to be the mother, like Gau Mata or whatever, right? So we are the land of the holy cow, right? But unfortunately, we are also the biggest exporter of beef. I mean, 2021, we are the second largest exporter of beef in the world. So that's if that is the truth, where are all these cows coming from that we are exporting out of the country? They're coming from dairy farms. That's because the dairy consumption is so high. I can walk you through the whole process. And I'm sure, you can relate because all of us are mammals, right? So a mammal, including humans, only produces milk when they have babies, right? Now, in order for the cow to give milk, she has to be impregnated and then she has to give birth, right? Now, she will not become pregnant by herself. She has to be artificially impregnated, which is a very gruesome process. Animals go through a lot of pain. I think Dr. Shah can actually tell you a little bit more about it. He has some research on that as well. Dr. Shah, can you tell us a little bit about that whole?
I'm going to share my screen so that at least people can be aware of the process, how it is involved. Basically, we think that in the old days, the cows were left roaming in the fields, and whenever they had an internal urge, they will get pregnant. And then the farmer will say, okay, I'm so lucky. God gave me a calf, and which will be either a male calf or a female calf. But none of these things are happening anymore. Basically, the way I look at it, like a female, like you said, has to get pregnant, but nobody has time for for the calf to get pregnant on its own. So artificial insemination is routinely done. Veterinarian comes in and just artificially inseminate the cow, and her pregnancy starts. And pregnancy, like other mammals, goes on for 9 months. Then it delivers the baby, and then after it delivers the baby, the milk flow continues for about a year and a half, and the flow starts going down. So then the cow has to be made pregnant again. So this process goes on. At one time, the cow has a potential to be 12 to 13-year-old before they had to be sent to the slaughterhouse. But now, because of the repetitive pregnancies, all her eggs are consumed already. So now at the age of 6 or 7, they have to go for a slaughterhouse. So at that young age, they have to be slaughtered because there is no need for it. All these things, because I've been vegan for so many years, and my internal thinking really kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And I like to put this scenario, I don't like to put anything away. I cannot push anything under the rug. And the reason is that I want to reach to the truth. I want to reach to the truth of what is behind all these things. The reason most of the people do not want to know the truth is because their likings, our likes and dislikes are so powerful. Our ego is so powerful that for the name of the likable things, we can sacrifice anything. We just put it away as if it doesn't exist. But it does exist. So I like to go down to the deep, and I realized that artificial insemination is a torture. I imagine myself like my wife or my daughter or my mother has to be subjected to this kind of repetitive pregnancies, that their eggs are used up and then their bodies are useless. So they are cut up into pieces and the meat is consumed. If that is the life would be any of my female members of my family, how would I feel? So it was very shocking to me that the artificial insemination, where the cow has no choice, cow has no choice in selecting her own pregnancy. In human society, when a pregnancy is inserted onto you without your consent, what do we call that? It's a rape of the cows. Granted, it's a silent animal. It doesn't have a voice, poor thing. But if it did have a voice, do you think she will consent? If she has a given written consent, she was not going to consent to all these things. And every woman understands this. Every woman has gone through their pregnancy and how much torture it is, how much discomfort it is. And after all these things, when the baby is born, the baby is pretty much taken away. Because if the baby starts consuming the dairy, the milk will not be left for you and me.
Yeah.
So we are actually taking away the milk from the baby itself, for which it was really meant to be. I'll give you an incident. I went to climb Kilimanjaro. It's a beautiful, beautiful hike. And before that, four of us, we went to see a Maasai village. Maasai village, they live in deserts. Their main gold, they consider their wealth is the cows. And they don't have a choice because they live in deserts and they cannot really do much of the farming. So the cows go for grazing and all that. Fine. So we went for one day at the Maasai village, and one of my friends wanted to milk the cow. So I was observing all these things. And to me, every single event of life has to teach me something. And it always does if you really pay attention to it. So this is what happened. So he wanted to milk the cow and say, okay, I want to have an experience. So he was given a little pot like structure, and they'd say, okay, you go ahead. They showed the technique, but he started doing it. Milk would not come. And he was dumbfounded. I said, how come milk, you told us to do this exactly this way. I'm doing it. It's not happening. A lot of this, my patients, I asked them, why do you think the milk was not flowing? 98% of the people have no answer. Couple of times I saw people got the right answer, where some of the farmers who came, they grew up in the villages, and they got me the right answer, that because the calf was not there.
Yes.
So the calf was brought into the picture. Calf started suckling on one side, and then the milk flow started. What does that tell you? That tells you that the milk was never meant for you. It was meant for the calf. And calf is the biggest stimulation for the cow's milk to flow. So it's a bond between a mother and a child, and we are breaking that bond. We are abusing that bond, and it's really painful for me to realize that if this thing was happening to any human component of our society, this will not be tolerated in 1 second. So to me, ultimately, bottom line was that every single product of the milk is a product of rape. And I just could not consume myself. See, the way I look at it, veganism, you can become vegan at the body level. Hey, somebody says, okay, I want to lose weight because the milk has too many calories. And yes, yeah, I have heard that it's not good, whatever. At the mind level, you can try. You can try yourself to change. You can go on a vegan diet. You can get the menus that, okay, what are the good foods? But that's at your mind level. But we have something more than that. We have a body and we have the mind, but we have a soul too. At the soul level, there is no difference. At body level, we all are different. At mind level, we are very different. But at the soul level, what is the difference? Soul is soul. It's formless. It has no shape, no size. It's infinite, omnipotent, omnipresent. So how come our soul is treated nicely and the cow's soul is not? At the soul level, you cannot differentiate. At that point, you realize that if the same torture is done onto me, I will not be able to tolerate. Why am I doing this torture to these cows? So yes, that's what I went through transformation myself. That at the body level, yes, I understood the concept. Mind level also, I had started following. But I'll go to the parties. My mind wants those tasty foods. And this is the real life scenario that I'm talking about. A lot of people come to me and say, Doc, we know what to do, but we cannot do it. Because part of the mind wants those foods, but the other part of the mind says, no, it's not good. So there is a tug of war between the two sides of the mind. But that's because of the mind. Mind is a duality. Mind differentiates you and mine. I'm Jain, you're Hindu. All these dualities exist at the mind level. So whenever I would leave the parties, I would leave kind of empty hearted. That, okay, I could have had it. Everybody enjoyed it, but I didn't. But then little by little you forget. But that's not what life is about. When I realized, and I meditate regularly, and I reached to the deeper parts of the pockets of your heart, and then suddenly a voice came, and that's what told me that artificial insemination is a rape, and every single product of the milk is a rape. At that point, I became spiritual vegan. And then when the voice comes from within, you know what? Now, anytime, any place I go to, any parties, and whenever I do not consume the dairy product, I get a joy. That joy of purity, joy of helping some unknown cow, which I don't even know. And that joy is the joy of consciousness. So you can become bodily vegan, you can become a mind level vegan, but the spiritual vegan is the ultimate. So that's where this animal cruelty comes from. It has to touch your heart. Mm-hmm. If when it does, it really phenomenally changes your life. It changed my life, and then it changed the lives of so many patients of mine. In fact, I had one patient, South Indian. She came to me, and I was explaining to her, and then suddenly started crying. I said, I'm sorry, did I say something? And the husband came to her help, and he says, no, you said everything correct. It's just that because she just had a baby daughter, and she's so attached to her baby daughter, obviously, but now this is really hurting her because she is so much fond of milk. Every single milk product, she loves it. And now she's getting a conflict for the first time. I put a seed in her heart about the closeness you can feel with another human, which is her own daughter. Yep. Now she suddenly started crying, and she wrote me. She moved to Canada actually now, and she wrote me that, Dr. Shah, you changed my life. Now I know what is respecting another life, which was very beautiful. So I can see what you're saying.
Dr. Shah. That is so incredible. What
life-changing event for her.
So Neetu, I would like to find, a lot of so animal factory or animal farming, livestock farming. What exactly does that term mean? Why don't you, explain our viewers what exactly an animal farm looks like? Because the idea of dairy, usually your idea of glass of milk, we're always used to associate smiles with it, associate like happy cows in the fields. So what does a typical dairy farm look like, factory farm look like?
I think the dairy farms, the factory farms, the slaughterhouses are perhaps the darkest, saddest, most depressing places on earth. All luckily not been to any one of them, but from what I've read, and I've read enough about these places, that there's so much stench of blood, there's so much stench of feces. They're pooping, they're standing in the animals are standing knee deep in their own waste. The ammonia in those places is such that you could faint from the smell of ammonia. You could smell it 3 miles.
Actually, I have been to a dairy farm. No, it was not a slaughterhouse, but we went to in southern Italy when we took a trip. We went to some place where mozzarella cheese is made, and all these cows were just standing in exactly in their own stench, in their own poop, on their own urine and everything. And yet when the sample of the mozzarella cheese was offered, everybody was running towards that. I said, how can you eat a product of such a filthy, stenching, full of stench type of atmosphere? And so it just was incredible that people would be running towards getting the samples of mozzarella cheese when they saw the cows in such a horrible situation. And we asked the Italian farmer. He says, "What do you do with these cows?" He says, "Oh, we send them out." I asked him very poignant question. I said, "Would you eat meat of these cows that you're growing on this farm?" And she says, "No." He said, "No." I said, "I cannot
He
eat
wouldn't.
my own cow's meat."
Yep, he wouldn't. Frankly, if you went for a tour to the farm, I'm sure those cows were 100 times better kept than the ones that you never get
No,
to see.
that you don't even go there. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yes.
these animals actually never get to uh, go in the sun. Sun is so important. They never get to see the light of the sun. They never get to smell fresh air. I just read it a few days ago, a very sad sort of meme that was there, which said the only time an animal gets to experience sun and fresh air is on their way to slaughterhouses
Wow.
when they're going on those trucks.
And,
That's
and
the
we
only time they
always
smell fresh air.
and we always see pictures of
Yeah, on the
when
milk
there are
carton.
dairy ads of cows freely grazing in the sun, right?
Yeah, with dangling beautiful bells, jingle jangle. It looks nice. They usually have a calf next to them. Frankly, let me tell you, like Dr. Shah already said this about the calf, right? So this is how it happens, right? So in the dairy industry, female calf is of use to the dairy industry because she's going to eventually become a dairy cow. But the
Right.
male calf is a total waste, right?
Yes.
And unless the dairy cow gives birth, they will not know if it's a male or female, right? Now,
Right.
when the male calf, if it's a male calf, he goes directly to a slaughterhouse. He becomes a part of the veal industry. And, people love veal, right? But they don't know what veal is all about. Veal is just a baby cow. Like to keep the skin tender, they're actually kept in very tight enclosed spaces. I want to actually show you a few pictures of these cows. One, I'll show you also a picture of so-called family farms, and where the calf is kept around where Dr. Shah said that so she can produce some milk, but the calf cannot drink the milk, of course. And then there's a factory farm calf. I'll show you both the pictures. Let me share my screen with you.
Cruelty-free products or free range. What are those terms? What does that mean? Doesn't it mean free range meaning they are allowed to go and graze in the fields? Does it mean that?
So free range means, okay, so the cows are kept in very tight enclosures. They can hardly even move their bodies, right? When you say free range, they're kept in a bigger cage. The barricades in between are removed. So they're still pretty much, skin to skin with other cows. They're pretty much tied down. They don't even get to move much, but there is no metal between them. That's what is free range. It's all marketing. It's you're made to feel like, oh, you're doing something less evil.
Wow.
Like
Right.
if I go to the market and I say I see something called free range and it's only $1 extra, I might feel a little less guilty for that extra dollar.
Right.
And I will go and pick that up. It's just marketing. Frankly,
Okay.
those animals are just like these animals. They don't get to see any sun, any fresh air. They don't even get to eat like regular food. It's pathetic. When they say organic, they're only feeding them organic fodder. There's nothing organic about the animal by itself. So, I'm sure, I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
So these are the calves. You see the little metal
Right. Metals.
contraptions on their faces, right? This is for them to be, they prevent the animal from nursing, the baby from nursing on the cow. This is your family dairy farm. Okay, this is at least the calf is around so that mother can milk. So in the first picture, you can see that there's a calf, but the mother is already attached to the milking machine, so he cannot drink the milk. The next one, you see a little, like it has almost like metallic thorns. So every time he goes close to the mother, he will poke the mother in the udders and she will kick him away.
Right.
So he will not be able to nurse and the mother will not be able to nurse the baby, but she will be able to give milk, right?
Right.
Similar, in the next picture, you see those little spokes that's coming out of on top of his face. And then the other one, that's the Indian farm where they have used a metal box, a metal like can put around his head.
To prevent, yes.
Yeah. So the caption says every time you drink milk, he doesn't.
Wow. That's a shame.
Yeah. So these are the products of your dairy farms. Then there are the veal calves who go into a different part of the factory where they are kept there for almost 30 days so they can develop enough so they can provide enough meat, but they're still tender. They're very tender. So they're kept tightly, enclosed so the meat remains soft, and then they're killed.
In the will, the crates, they kept the wooden, and to the point that they don't even have the nails, the iron nails on them, because when they leak on the iron, that stimulates the growth of the blood vessels and it spoils the quality of the meat. So, and plus they are not being fed. They are not fed, and they are put in these wooden cages so they don't grow to maintain. So as soon as the order comes from the restaurant, that's when they cut them. So this is a product of animal industry, and by drinking milk, we are contributing to that.
You see this picture that I've shared just now. This is your dairy cow. She has the udders are so big. Do they
Right.
even look natural to you?
Not at all.
Do you
No.
think this much milk is natural for any animal, any mammal? You know, the reason she has all of this milk is because she's been given hormones. She's been given the oxytocin injection, which
That's
gives her labor pain twice a day. Once in the morning and once in the evening, she's been given that injection. She gets labor pain, produces double the amount of milk, which is then, humans take it. And what happens to the baby? This is what happens to the baby. He goes to slaughterhouse. It says that the tiny calf is only days old, and they're very violently, like either stabbed, burned, electrocuted, and then they're killed. This is dairy calf, and look at the pesticides.
Oh my
These
God.
are the things that you drink. So every glass of milk will have some blood, some pus, and some feces, some poop inside of it. Every glass of milk. In fact, I might have a picture I want to show you. This is oh yeah, here it is. So this is the milk. This is the actual color of milk when it is taken from the cows, and then it is whitened by using bleach and sent to the supermarkets.
Mm.
So this is what people are drinking, right? So when I saw a video when I was still very young about a cow being given the oxytocin injection and her blowing in pain. That made me stop dairy altogether. Like that was the day I turned vegan.
When the udders are that big and they have to be milked, people are made to believe that because to relieve their suffering, the milk has to be taken out.
Right.
Which is, nobody tells them that this suffering is actually created by the farmer, and then the suffering is relieved. So thinking that they're being really relieved from their suffering, which is a totally wrong, opposite approach of what actually is going on behind the doors of these industries.
This is the truth, the real truth behind that glass of milk.
Yeah.
Right? That glass of milk or block of cheese or yogurt, whatever you're
cheese is another interesting story
yes.
about this, because the cheese is converted from milk into cheese by tablets called rennet tablets.
Right.
And there is only one place the rennic acid comes from. It is in the inner lining of the calf's stomach. Calf has 4 stomachs. The 4th stomach is where the milk gets converted into cheese-like material, and then ultimately it gets absorbed. So the inner lining of the 4th stomach is where the rennic acid is. And in the rennic acid, to get the rennic acid, they have to kill the calf. So a lot of male calves ultimately contribute towards the production of this rennic acid. And this rennic acid is converted into rennet tablets, and they are commercially sold all over the world. And when they put them in the milk, that generates the cheese. At one time, European cheese was 100% created by these rennet tablets. So no actually genetic manufacturing, but America has come up with a genetic modification, genetically modified rennic acid. So now it's actually produced in the factories, the rennic acid itself. So, but the thing is that when you buy the cheese, by law, you're not required to report it, whether this cheese was using the genetically modified rennic acid or it was natural. So you don't know, you could be still contributing. And that's why actually the European markets were not allowing the American cheese to be exported to them because they did not believe in a genetically modified. Now, under the pressure of the economy pressure or whatever, now I think they're allowing to import the American cheese. But ultimately, the corruption, all that started from you know where. So it's all these genetic modifications. But the cruelty is definitely involved where the calf has to be sacrificed to make the cheese. And out of all the milk products, who really drinks milk? Tell me. Who drinks milk for their nutritional value? That's what they perceived with nutritional value. But most of them are the consumption is done for the pleasure. The cheese and the ice creams and the mozzarella cheese and all those things and pies and cookies and ice creams and biscuits and cookies, all those things and candies. All these things are pleasure items. It's our pleasure versus their life.
Yeah.
We never realize that.
So how about, there is this common belief that eggs are cruelty free. You don't have to kill a chicken to get eggs. What is cruel in eating eggs?
So unfortunately, there's a lot of similarity between dairy and eggs. So similar to a dairy cow, eggs, are produced by a female, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the eggs have to hatch in order for you to determine whether it is a female chick or a male chick. So as soon as they hatch, they're separated, they're sorted in two different piles, right? What happens? So the female chicks are fused to the egg industry because they're going to be future egg layers, right? What happens to the male chicks? Those little fluffy looking yellow, beautiful looking chicks, which we see in the commercials looking very happy. Those male chicks are grinded and crushed right away. They're actually crushed in grinders, similar to what you have in your kitchen, but a much bigger scale. As they're being hatched, males go into the grinder. And that is the reality of the egg industry. We might again say, oh, it's unfertilized. It's just, a waste product. We love to justify our actions by saying things like this.
Yes.
We like to say, because it's not fertilized, it was going to go to waste, so I consumed it. Let me tell you this.
And it is not a natural process. Let me add to that. It's not a natural process by these eggs are coming.
Absolutely not.
They are just produced to be on someone's plate. It is not a natural process, just like we said before with the cows, that the calf is born or the eggs are laid. It is.
Yeah. So like you said, it's a natural process. If it was a natural process, you wouldn't believe how many eggs a hen would lay. We assume that hen lays at least one egg a day, right? This is an assumption. And it's a truth. But the reality, if it was a natural process left to her own means, she'd only lay 12 to 16 eggs in a year. 12 to 16 in a year.
Wow. Amazing.
Imagine the kind of pain that she goes through. And laying an egg is a painful process, right?
Yeah, just like delivering a calf. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just like delivering a calf is not easy either. So
exactly, right? But she's laying one egg a day, which is hard, it's a hard shell egg. For her to lay that, eventually this animal that can live up to 12 to 18 years, by the end of the second or third, fourth year, she's so spent, she cannot stand on her own feet. She cannot.
So so we heard where your dairy milk comes from and where the eggs you think they're cruelty free. We also hear labels like certified humane, vegetarian fed, etc. Everything in the end comes from a process which is not natural, not normal, and it is filled with cruelty and suffering to that animal itself. So today, friends, we talked about a very disturbing truth about the glass of milk or an egg or an omelet or a piece of chicken that's on your table. The inhumane practices of factory farming is just beyond comprehension. So what can we do to end this abuse? It's a very simple solution and probably the only solve. Switch that glass of milk with a plant-based milk. Replace your egg with a plant-based breakfast. Whole grain oats are a great choice. On that salad, you add grilled chicken, add grilled tofu or a can of beans for your protein. Healthy life The vegan way is the solve. Thank you, everyone. Until we meet again.